part of this was a Hillary Clinton plan, but part of it was an FBI plan to be an accelerant to that fake Steele dossier, to those fake Russia collusion claims by pouring oil on the fire, by amplifying the lie and burying the truth of what Hillary Clinton was up to. And you're right, Maria. John Brennan testified to John Durham in August of 2020. He also testified to the House Oversight Committee in 2022. Hillary Clinton testified before John Durham under oath in 2022. James Comey testified before the Senate committee in September 2020. All of that's within the last 5 years. And much of that testimony is, frankly, completely inconsistent with what our underlying intelligence that is about to be declassified in the Durham Annex, what that reflects. And so, you know, Pam Bondi does have a strike force. It is a different Department of Justice, a different FBI, and an opportunity to look at how these people really did conspire to run a hoax, a fraud on the American people and against Donald Trump's presidency. And so coming forward, we understand that they did this, but now we need to understand how they did this. And I think that's why you see the left losing their minds over this, Maria, saying, why are you spending time? This is vindictive. You're going back. This is Donald Trump, you know, seeking retribution. It's not. Donald Trump's election by the American people was a statement, Maria. They said to everyone, we know what you did to Donald Trump, and we reelected him because we know this was all fake. We know it was a hoax. Now we want to understand how you did it so that it can't happen again. And that's what this declassification process that we're undergoing right now, what's going on, why it's so important, and why there can be accountability and preventability to prevent these same people that did it in 2016 with the Steele dossier, with the Hunter Biden laptop in 2020, from doing it again in the future.
So what I think I hear you saying is there is still an opportunity for indictments, potential prosecutions, accountability from those people who may have lied under oath, like John Brennan, James Comey, and perhaps Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's why I've made the referrals that I have. D&I Gabbard has made referrals, and why we're going to continue to share the intelligence that would support the ability of our Department of Justice to make fair and just, bring fair and just claims against those who have perpetrated this hoax against the American people and this stain on our country.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the fact that the mainstream liberal media is upset by the Trump administration now putting the spotlight on Obama, Hillary, and the Democrats that were complicit with the creation of the Russia collusion hoax, okay? The conspiracy theory, the Blue Anon conspiracy theory that was created by Obama and Hillary Clinton in order to discredit the President of the United States, President Trump, right? This is what they did, okay? They basically told America that the election was stolen because President Trump is Vladimir Putin's butt buddy, and this is why Putin worked to try to influence the outcome of the 2016 election, to rig the election in favor of Trump against Hillary Clinton. And that conspiracy is a conspiracy that Democrats push very hard, okay? But now we know that this was all kind of made up, right? It was made up by Obama, Hillary, in what Tulsi Gabbard calls a treasonous conspiracy to manufacture fake intelligence to undermine the President of the United States, right? That is essentially what they did. And apparently, they're going to drop more bombshell, declassified documents. That's what you guys saw at the beginning of this video from the CIA director, John Ratcliffe. He's saying that they have more coming, more declassified documents coming on the way to show the American people what Obama and Hillary and Democrats did in an effort to undermine President Trump. So again, this type of stuff, the mainstream liberal media doesn't want to talk about, right? They don't want to talk about it all. This is why they're getting upset. They're getting so mad. They're getting pissed off with the GOP because they're refusing to back down on this. They're refusing to stop talking about it. And that played out here in this interview between Lindsey Graham and Kristen Welker. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Seem to want to try to shut down questions about the Epstein files by accusing former President Obama of treason. This came as his director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, declassified documents which allege top Obama officials manufactured information related to Russian interference in the 2016 election. Now, Senator, as you are well aware, this actually contradicts a bipartisan Senate intelligence report led by Marco Rubio, which found that Russia did, in fact, interfere in the election. Do you actually believe that former President Obama committed treason?
Well, I think somebody needs to look at what we found. The Intel Committee looked at the matter, and they said in 2017, the intelligence analysis of 2017 showing that Russia was trying to interfere in our election was real. They didn't achieve their goal. But what she found, Ms. Gabbard, is that in 2016, the intelligence community told President Obama there's no evidence that Russia was involved in trying to change the outcome of the election. And he supposedly told a group of people, keep looking, and the analysis changed. So what we're looking at is what role did Obama play in 2016 to change the narrative that resulted in 2017? I'm not alleging he committed treason, but I am saying it bothers me. It's disturbing that this is new information. And now you got the number 2 guy at the FBI, Mr. Bongino, saying he's seen things that has changed his life. And I assume now he's referring to Russia. So the best way to handle this is if there is evidence of a crime being committed or suspected evidence of a crime being committed, create a special counsel to look at it. I think that's the best way to go.
Okay, let me follow up with you on your calls for a special counsel investigation. As you know, Senator, there was already a Trump-appointed special counsel at the time investigating the origins of the Russia probe. It did not find any evidence of political interference. And, Senator, at the time, you agreed with the findings of the intelligence community. I want to play back what you said at the time. Take a look.
Yep. The Russians did it. It was the Russians who tried to interfere in our election. Every member of the committee agrees it was the Russians. They didn't change the outcome, but they did release information embarrassing to the Democratic Party. It did affect Hillary Clinton. There's only one person in Washington that I know of that has any doubt about what Russia did in our election, and it's President Trump.
Senator, are you now saying that you don't believe that Russia tried to interfere in the 2016 election?
Well, what I am saying is that you left a lot out here. It's called the Horowitz Report. It's the Mueller investigation was crooked and rotten to the core. The Washington Post and the New York Times got a Pulitzer Prize for reporting on Trump's campaign's relationship with Russia. It was all BS. At the time, I didn't know any of that. At the time, I didn't know that they were manufacturing evidence to get FISA warrants. There was a confirmation bias. Durham didn't say there was no political bias. He said quite the opposite. He said every time a FISA warrant was sought in the Mueller world, they got it, and the errors made to get warrants in this space were a lot greater than they were in anything not involving Trump. But what I'm saying is that this is new evidence. This is something I didn't know, you didn't know, that in 2016, Obama suggested, I don't like the outcome that there's no evidence Russia was involved. Well, now we all say Russia was involved, but in 2016, they said Russia wasn't involved. What the hell happened?
Yeah, so I love how these mainstream liberal media anchors mischaracterize what the Durham report actually found, okay? Because she said, well, the Durham report found no political interference. Now, how do you define political interference? There's a reason why she's using that term, because the Durham report did, in fact, find political bias. More specifically, that the FBI acted with bias and poor judgment. Okay, the FBI rushed to investigate the Trump campaign's alleged ties to Russia with, quote, raw and unanalyzed and uncorroborated evidence, aka BS, right? They pursue BS. They pursue bullshit, right? While when it comes to the similar allegations involving Hillary's campaign that actually did have some strong evidence behind it, right? Much stronger evidence than the alleged evidence against President Trump. They said, nah, we're good. We don't need to pursue those allegations or that evidence or anything like that. We're not worried about that. So what the Durham report found is that there was a clear double standard that ignored and downplayed Hillary Clinton's link to foreign influence, right? Her campaign's linked to foreign influence, while aggressively pursuing that of President Trump. Now, again, if you listen to this mainstream liberal media anchor, well, they didn't find any political interference. Well, they did find political bias. If the FBI is politically biased against President Trump and for Hillary Clinton, then that to me would be political influence, right? Clearly, they're influenced politically in favor of Hillary and against Trump, right? But again, if you listen to the way the media frames it, you wouldn't know what the Durham report found. So if there's political bias, then there probably is political interference, right? Likely there's political interference, which is why the bias exists, which suggests that there should be further investigation. There's a reason why Kristen Welker did not accurately state what the Durham report found. If she would have stated, well, the Durham report did find that there was political bias within the FBI, then guess what? That would support what Lindsey Graham is calling for here, which is a special counsel to investigate further the allegations from Tulsi Gabbard and others that, hey, Obama and his lackeys, they participated in a criminal conspiracy to undermine the president of the United States, right? They manufactured fake intelligence to smear the president. I think that if the Durham report found that the FBI was biased, the next step would be to find, okay, well, why is that? Why were they biased, right? Who gave the order? Okay, where did it come from? Okay, that's the next step. But clearly, Kristen Welker doesn't want that, right? She doesn't want that.
Get a special counsel.
Hold on, Senator. As you know, former President Obama has weighed in through a spokesperson. He says that's just patently false. I actually spoke to Susan Miller, who's a former senior CIA officer who helped oversee the 2017 intelligence assessment on Russian interference. She says it's completely false that Obama or anyone else asked them to change or sway their investigation. She says they all. She says, and she's a Republican, says they all would have quit if that had happened. Senator, are you trying to rewrite history to distract from the Epstein matter, Senator?
No, I'm trying to let you know and the media know that we found something we didn't know before. At the end of the day, I'm not calling for a prosecution against President Obama for treason, but I am calling for an investigation. Mr. Miller also said there was no credible evidence that President Trump colluded with the Russians. For years and months and days and weeks, people had their lives turned upside down chasing the Mueller narrative that Trump was in bed with the Russians, that the Trump campaign was colluding with the Russians. The only people colluding with the Russians were the Hillary Clinton campaign and Christopher Steele manufacturing a document to get warrants against Carter Page based on lies and falsehoods. So, yeah, I'm very familiar with it. What you don't seem to acknowledge is there's something new being found. Rather than reinventing the wheel here, let's go back to a special counsel model to look at this something new. The something new is statements by President Obama. I don't like your analysis. Russia wasn't involved here in 2016.
Senator, you're saying there's something new. This report goes back to 2020. It's 5 years old. There's actually nothing new in this report and nothing that changes any conclusion. But I want to talk about Gaza.
Turned over is new to me.
Senator,
it's new to me.
But Senator,
you're trying to sweep this stuff under the rug, and that's not right.
But Senator, you know that at the time you said you did believe the assessments and the multiple investigations. But let me move on to Gaza. Let's talk about Gaza.
Yeah, but we got new information. We got declassified documents, and more documents are coming showing that Obama knew that it was BS, right? They concluded it was BS back in 2016. And then all of a sudden it changed. And they fooled these people, right? They fooled the Republicans. And now they want another investigation. But see, the liberal media doesn't want that, right? She talking about, is this a distraction from Epstein? And it's like, no, it's not a distraction from Epstein. But let's be real. President Trump is reordering global trade. He just passed his signature economic agenda, right? He's closing the border. We had the mass deportations. We're ridding this country of the woke virus that has plagued this country, right? DEI and all those other things. There are a lot of great things that the president is accomplishing. And y'all want to talk about Epstein, right? Over the great accomplishments of the president right now. So I think that if anybody is trying to use things as a distraction, it is the media kicking and screaming and crying about Epstein, when for the last 4 years under Biden, they didn't give a damn about Epstein at all. In fact, they didn't want anything at all to come out about Epstein. Now, all of a sudden, these people are demanding to talk about Epstein. It's just distraction from Epstein. Amazing. They only want to talk about it because they think that it divides the Republican Party. Do you guys notice this? Right? You notice how the media did not think that this was newsworthy until they found out that, wait, we can use this to divide MAGA, which is not working, by the way. I mean, let's keep on. It's not working, okay? That's not a thing. That's what they tell themselves in order to make themselves feel good about the fact that literally nothing that they do ever works.
This is the downside of the strategy that he has imported that got him elected. His entire strategy with the Epstein files was to try to give people the strong impression that this was Bill Clinton, this was Democrats, this was something that they were trying to hide. And now that this is all turned on him, he won't be able to convince his base that this is a transparent investigation at all. Like, I don't know what it would take for them to believe that there's no cover up. I mean, you've convinced a lot of these people. Part of your whole spiel is that the government isn't to be trusted. And then you're asking these same group of people to suddenly trust that this was all on the up and up. There is no list, that everything is as it appears, and they're just not going to buy it. And what's always interesting to me is like what it takes people to get off the Trump train. It's not the xenophobia. It's not the racism. It's not the bigotry. It is this.
But are they off the Trump train? I mean, I think this is the part of what Charlotte is saying that I'm not so sure. Because I think that they really don't want to be off the Trump train. They want to be on the Trump train. They just want Trump to get in line with them on this issue.
I think that's exactly right, Abby. Look, I think for Trump, it does feel a little bit like the lady doth protest a little too much, right? But when it comes to his approval rating with Republicans, it's basically as solid as it ever was. You know, you put it up on the graphic before where you saw the smallest decline was among Republicans. If you look at the average of polls, his approval rating with Republicans, still at about 90%. Of course, those same Republicans say they are dissatisfied with the amount of information that's been released so far. Everyone is dissatisfied with the amount of information that's been released so far with concern to the Epstein files. Everyone thinks that there's something more going on there. But then making that leap to all of a sudden that his base is moving away from him, at least at this particular point in the polling data, we're not seeing it.
I mean, right. But yeah, they didn't want to talk about it all for the last 4 years. Now all of a sudden they want to talk about it. It tells you everything you need to know, right? So ultimately they know we're not going to stop talking about Obama. Okay. What Obama did, there should be accountability. Obama may have some immunity, right? He may or may not. But his lackeys don't, right? And if we have to hold them accountable, if there has to be prosecutions, then, hey, it is what it is. Because this cost taxpayer dollars. It was something that plagued this country for years and years and years. The Democrats used it to undermine the president, and it led the American people astray. And therefore, again, there must be accountability. And the media is afraid of accountability. This is why they're upset. This is why they want to talk about it. This is why they want to sweep it under the rug, right? They want to sweep it under the rug. When on any other given day, that they will be more than happy to talk about Russia and Trump, right? Now all of a sudden, let's not talk about it, right? Not worth talking about. Let's talk about Epstein, something that they didn't want to talk about for the last 4 years. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.